Okay, so the lesson that we're going to be going over today is the secret killer, and our students are going to have to learn the harmful chemicals in tobacco. So when they come in the first 5 minutes of class, there will be a question on the board where it says, please list all facts about ingredients in tobacco and the chemicals that are in them that you know up to this date, whether it is true or false. Also, students, once we get farther into the activities of the class, we'll go over how these chemicals that they listed in the beginning actually affect the body, and the real life actual chemicals, not just the facts and myths that they may know are in cigarettes. And then eventually we will cover what makes cigarettes lethal over time and how that affects the body and the choices that they make. So once they start their first little section on the 5-minute bell ringer, they will go over what they need to look at for the different things that they need to know in cigarettes, and one of the ingredients that they will need to know for the discussion later on in class. While they're participating in their discussion, I will pass out lists of different cigarette brands and what is in them, and they need to write down the first 3 ingredients, whether they know what they are or not at that time period, on the cigarette package. Also, once they have finished their first 5-minute bell ringer, we will go over as a class what exactly those chemicals were in the first 3 and the statistics of those first 3 across the board, so whether or not those are the first 3 chemicals in every package of cigarettes or just that particular brand. Also, they will learn within this activity that the first ingredient is typically the most used ingredient, followed by the second most used and third most. And if they have time, they will get the first 5 and hopefully explain what exactly, in their own words, how that is used in the cigarette and how it affects the body. Once that is completed, we'll kind of break off into groups, and to start off the group work, I will have them determine what other household objects, such as cleaners or sprays or even paints or lighters, that these chemicals may be located in and what they are used for, whether it's cleaning, bleaching items, or painting the outside of a building. And once they establish that connection, they will start to see where they're ingesting those chemicals into the body and the slow effects that has on the body. Once they break into the groups, this is where they kind of start breaking down that knowledge and learning the long-term effects of where the chemicals from smoking affects the body and how the body actually reacts to how those chemicals and smoke affect deep inside the lungs and the respiratory system overall of a human body. They will be participating in an activity where it requires moving and drawing, and they will be numbered off based off random assortment. And finally, once we come to an end, after we've completed the activity, they will have a class discussion over what makes cigarettes lethal over time and why they believe it makes them lethal over time, and how this stuff is still legal to buy, knowing very well that these things will kill you eventually. And when they reach this activity, they will need to list from their previous knowledge, what they learned in the bell ringer, the most to least lethal ingredients in cigarettes and how long those ingredients take to affect the body. Now, for the class activity, we're going to break them into groups, and then depending on class size, it can be anywhere to 4 to 5 groups or 5 to 6, with no more than 3 to 4 people in a group. Once they are into their groups, they will be kind of separated in different corners of the room so they have enough area to complete their exercises. Once they've established their groups, I will ask them to get out a piece of paper and pencil, which should only take them roughly a minute to get settled and get that piece of paper and pencil out. Once they've done that, I will have them write their name on the piece of paper and nominate one person to come up to the front of the classroom to get 2 bags from me. Each group will get 2 sets of bags. In one set will be random numbers and straws, and depending on the number that they draw, they will have to breathe through their mouth out of that number of straws. In the other bag will be a random set of exercises that they must complete while breathing through the straws. So with this activity, each person will go through 2 times. While each person is performing, the rest of the group will be writing a log for that person over what they see and how that person reacts while breathing through the straws. Now, once each person has completed 2 exercises, whether it's the same or different, and has compared how they all felt different, because some people may have 5 straws they get to breathe through and some may have 2 or even 1. Once they've compared their notes on how each person reacted differently in the activity, each individual as the group will perform all the activities 1 time through without any straws. They'll breathe normal as if they haven't smoked or anything in their past or are currently smoking, and write down the differences that they felt compared to that activity when they were using the straws. They will use this time to discuss how they feel about doing the activity breathing through straws and applying the knowledge that they learned previously through the bell ringer and through this activity. This activity should take roughly 20 to 25 minutes so that each person has enough time to write and perform the exercises in the activity. While they're wrapping up the activities that they are, and they start talking more about how they feel and their overall experiences with the activity while breathing through the straws, and how the differences they felt, whether good or bad, after they breathe through the straws and perform the activities without the straws, will slowly lead into our class discussion. Our class discussion will cover what they felt, why they think they felt that way, and any differences, whether good or bad, that they felt from performing these activities. By performing it with the straws first, they already weaken their body, so when they do it without the straws, they should feel a sense of easiness compared to the first time they did it. This way they can actually log down in their blog or journal, however they want to call it, the differences that they feel. And I will lead the class discussion by getting them starting asking certain people in the class how they felt about their overall experience with that, whether good or bad, and what they could do maybe to make it harder or easier, and why they think the straws enabled their breathing or disabled their breathing to such limits. By doing these activities, they will hit the multiple intelligences of intrapersonal, which is understanding one's own interest. By doing that, they are seeing whether or not smoking really does apply to their own activities and their interest to perform future activities later on in life. In the interpersonal section of this, they're interacting with each other, so they understand how other people are feeling, how they see each other, how when they discuss it with each other, how the others see them performing these activities compared to how they think they're being seen. And with them communicating with each other, they're using the verbal aspect by using words effectively. This makes it easier for them to communicate, and also while they're communicating with each other, they're using their body to perform the activities assigned to them by luck of the draw. This activates a fourth multiple intelligence, which is the bodily intelligence. And to give them a list of the intelligence that were used, and how to help them have a better understanding. I will provide them with a list of things that they could look for on each person while they're trying to figure out how their body's reacting, kind of an example guiding page of what they should be looking for while the person's performing their activities. Once they've kind of hit that and they start giving me these answers, I'll start calling on them one by one, asking them questions about what they felt or how they think these chemicals are lethal over time. And once they reach once they have a clear understanding through me and can relate what they learned in the first 5 minutes of class to what they did during the activity to how we are now over why they believe these are more lethal, will be their exit ticket out of the class to their next period. What they will not know is that why they're believing that these are more lethal over time will be their bell ringer for the next day, to get them discussing further what exactly these chemicals are and where they come from and what exactly they do to the body in a more in-depth exposure with pictures and actual definitions of what that chemical does. So roughly this whole lesson should take 5 minutes for the bell ringer, 25 for the class activity, which would be 30, and say 10 for a closing discussion, classroom discussion. So 40 minutes out of a 45-minute class, with 2 or 3 minutes of shuffle time for them to get settled in between group discussion and coming in and leaving for class.